You command 4,000 Roman soldiers, and one order spoken wrong erases all of them by sundown. A brilliant victory today might make the emperor lie awake wondering if Rome needs two of him. And somehow, this is still a better Tuesday than your first day as a recruit. This is every rank in the Roman legion, all in one career, seen from the inside, which historically no single soldier ever actually lived through, because Rome reserved its highest command for men who never marched a day in their life. But we're doing it anyway, rank by rank, from the bottom of the pile to the top of the ladder. Which position did the dirtiest work? Where did the promotion of an ordinary soldier finally stop? And why does the safest-looking job in the entire army turn out to be the deadliest seat in Rome? Right now, you are a Tiro, not a rank. Just a word for what you are before Rome decides you're worth calling a soldier. You've sworn the sacramentum, the military oath, which is Rome's way of saying, we own the next 25 years of your life, starting immediately. Training runs you into the ground on purpose. Marches with a pack heavier than your common sense. Drills with a wooden sword weighted to feel heavier than the real one, so the real thing feels like a mercy. Punishment here is not hypothetical. An officer can beat you, fine you, or humiliate you in front of the entire camp, and no one above him will ask why. You signed for this, so you learn fast. Because in the Roman army, the fastest way to get hurt is not the enemy. It's your own drill instructor, and he hasn't even left camp yet. You survive training, so Rome upgrades you to Miles Gregarius, an ordinary legionary, which sounds like an achievement until you learn what the job actually is. You march roughly 20 Roman miles carrying your armor, your rations, cooking gear, and stakes for the palisade. Because every single night, whether or not anyone attacked you that day, your unit builds an entire fortified camp from scratch, then tears it down at dawn. You share a tent with 7 other men, a contubernium, and you'll know they're snoring better than you know their surnames. Rome deducts money from your pay for food, for equipment, and for your own burial fund, because the state has already budgeted for the possibility that you won't need the rest of that salary. Most of your service isn't the battle you imagined. It's digging, it's marching, it's waiting. But every day you survive is a day closer to the only thing that actually changes your life out here. Someone above you dying, retiring, or getting reassigned, and Rome needing a replacement in a hurry. Your unit needs someone who can read, someone who can set a broken leg, someone who can repair a bent shield boss. And it turns out that's you. You become an Immunis, excused from ditch digging and latrine duty because you're now the medic, the engineer, the clerk, or the armorer. This sounds like the reward for having a skill. But one mistake in your specialty doesn't just cost you, it costs the entire century. Sew a wound wrong, miscount the grain shipment, or misjudge the weight on a siege engine, and the punishment for failure just got a lot more interesting than a boring one. Because you've proven you can be trusted with details, you're handed the Tessera, a wooden tablet with tonight's password, and the responsibility of getting it to every guard post correctly. This is, technically, one of the most boring assignments in the entire Roman army. It is also one of the only jobs where a single careless mistake can get the whole camp slaughtered in its sleep. So somewhere in a Roman legion, right now, the safety of an empire depends entirely on one soldier not forgetting a word. Rome calls this a promotion. Historians call it a security clearance. You call it the first night in months you can't actually sleep. You handle the watchword duty well enough, long enough that your Centurion notices, and then, one bad engagement later, your Optio doesn't come back from it. His job is now empty. Rome's solution is simple. You inherit it. As Optio, you're the Centurion's second in command, running drills, keeping the line straight in formation, handling the discipline the officers don't want to deal with personally. You're not one of the ordinary soldiers anymore, but you're nowhere near the men who give the big orders. Congratulations. Rome has found a more expensive way to get you killed, because now your mistakes aren't just your own. They're 80 other men's mistakes too, and your Centurion will absolutely let you take the blame for both. Somewhere above the Optio's job sits an entirely different kind of honor, carrying the standard. The Signifer carries your sentry's signum into every battle, and by most accounts also helps manage the unit's savings, because Rome apparently trusts a man more with a flag than with a filing cabinet. Above him, and there is only one of these in the entire legion, stands the Aquilifer, bearer of the Golden Eagle. The Aquila, the single object that represents the soul of 10 cohorts. Lose the eagle in battle, and it isn't just a defeat. It's a national embarrassment written into the history books for centuries. Carrying it is the highest honor a common soldier can realistically reach. It's also the one job in the army where retreating, running, or hiding is no longer physically an option. Because wherever the eagle goes, everyone is required to notice. Prove yourself long enough under fire, and it happens. You make Centurion. This is real command, finally. Roughly 80 men under you, not the mythical even 100 the title implies. Discipline in your hands, pay somewhere around 15 times what you started on. But a centurion in the Roman army doesn't lead from behind a desk, or even from behind the formation. He leads from the front rank, the most dangerous position on the field, specifically so his men can watch whether he's brave or not. Surviving evidence shows centurions dying at noticeably higher rates than the soldiers they command, because the whole point of the position is being visible. You carry a vinewood cane, the Vidice, to discipline your men, and you'll use it constantly, because keeping 80 terrified people in a straight line under arrow fire requires more than polite requests. You wanted power. You got it. Power, in this job, mostly means being first in every direction the enemy is throwing something sharp. Survive dozens of engagements as a centurion, climb through the internal seniority of your cohort, and if you're extraordinary and extremely lucky, you become Primus Pilus, the senior centurion of the entire legion, commander of its most senior century. The pay here is enormous by legionary standards. The prestige is enormous too. You now sit close enough to real military decisions that generals ask your opinion instead of just your obedience. For one glorious year, typically, you have genuinely beaten the system. A farmer's son, or a provincial recruit, has out-earned, outranked, and outlived almost everyone who started beside him. Historically, this is about as high as raw competence alone can carry a professional soldier. Which means the next rank up isn't earned by fighting better. It's earned by something else entirely. As a former Primus Pilus, you may be offered the post of Praefectus Castrorum, camp prefect, the legion's third in command, responsible for logistics, engineering, supply lines, artillery, and the hospital. You survived pitched battles. Now you can lose a campaign over spoiled grain, a missing mule, or a badly routed supply road, and nobody will write songs about that kind of disaster. It is technically one of the most powerful positions a soldier of your background can hold. It's also proof that Rome's definition of danger has quietly shifted, from the enemy in front of you to the logistics behind you, and both, it turns out, can end a legion just as effectively. Here's where your decades of survival run into a wall no amount of competence can climb. The legion also has 6 military tribunes, and 5 of them, the Tribuni Angusticlavii, are equestrian-born officers doing a tour of administrative and staff duty. The 6th, the Tribunus Lataclavius, is a senator's son, often barely into his 20s, frequently holding real authority in the legion despite having marched exactly 0 of the miles you have. You earned your rank in blood, mud, and 20-some years of service. He was born into his. Rome calls this the natural order. You privately call it something considerably less polite, and then you salute him anyway, because that's also part of the natural order. Above even the young aristocrat sits the Legatus Legionis, commander of the entire legion, roughly 5,000 men, appointed directly by the emperor, almost always a senator in his 30s on a rotation of a few years through the province, as one stop on a political career that will eventually lead back to Rome. As Legatus, you finally hold something close to absolute military authority. One order from you can win a province. One order from you can also lose one so badly that your name becomes a lesson taught to future officers. And here's the twist nobody warns you about. Winning too well is now just as dangerous as losing. A Legatus who's too popular with his troops, too successful in the field, too beloved by 5,000 armed men, starts looking to the emperor less like a general and more like a rival who already has an army assembled. So here you are, decades removed from a terrified recruit who couldn't lift his own pack, now commanding thousands, feared by enemies across an entire frontier. Congratulations! Rome has finally run out of enemies dangerous enough to kill you honestly, which only means the danger moved indoors, into marble rooms, dinner invitations, and men who smile directly at your face. You climbed every rank in the Roman military to stop fearing the soldier standing across the battlefield. All it cost you was learning to fear. Far more, the Romans standing quietly behind your back.